Hi, I'm Bobby Dean, and you're watching Dante's
Boxing Nation.
Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Okay, so I touched on this a little bit. I talked about this situation with Brian Norman versus Jaron Ennis. And in that video, I told you guys that it's only a matter of time before Eddie Hearn comes out and spills the beans when it comes to Brian Norman being offered a Jaron Ennis fight and him turning it down.
He's absolutely available now. You know, I mean, we've made them an offer last week. And we've even said to them, if you are taking that fight in Japan, let's lock the fight in for after that. October, November, December, whenever. And they come back and say, we don't want to talk about any other fights until we have this fight. So, I don't know. I mean, we can't rely on Brian Norman to chase any kind of greatness because the purse is outrageous in terms of what he's made. And, you know, it's a massive purse that we've offered him. So,
okay, so what Eddie Hearn did was pretty smart. He really called Brian Norman's bluff because we already know after Jaron Ennis' last fight, he was targeting Brian Norman to unify the belts. His goal is to become the undisputed champion at 147. And I thought that was Brian Norman's goal as well, but apparently it's not, because shortly after Jaron beat Stanionis, it was already announced that Brian Norman was going to go to Japan and fight against Jen Sasaki. So what Eddie Hearn did was really smart. He said, okay, go ahead and fight Jen Sasaki, but let's make a deal for you to fight Jaron Ennis after the Sasaki fight. And Brian Norman still turned it down, saying that they don't want to negotiate any other fight. They just want to focus on the Sasaki fight, which really makes no sense because making multi-fight deals happens all the time in the sport of boxing. I mean, we seen Canelo Alvarez do a 2 or 3 fight deal when he signed with DAZN, where he had to fight Bivol and he had to fight Golovkin a third time. Even the deal that he just signed more recently with Turki Al-Sheikh, where he was fighting against William Skoll, but he was already scheduled to fight against Terrence Crawford in September. Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, they already had a fight scheduled until Ryan Garcia lost, of course, to Rolly Romero. So this is bad news for Jaron Ennis because clearly Brian Norman, he doesn't really have an interest in fighting Boots. That means Boots cannot become the undisputed champion at 147. The only good news is that means that Jaron Ennis, I guess he could fight Teofimo Lopez, because that is the fight that Teo, he keeps claiming that he wants, and he even told Turki Al-Sheikh that he wants that fight. You know, when it comes to unifications in the sport of boxing, this is the reason why I have told you that they need to start mandating unification bouts, just like they do with number one contenders with mandatories. Unification should be ordered at least once a year or once every 2 years. And if one of the champions can't agree on the money, then it goes to purse bid. Because it's just unfair to the boxers that are truly fighting for legacy, the champions that truly believe that they are the best in their weight class. They should be able to force a unification, at least in a certain time period. The fact that Boots' team, they were okay with Brian Norman going to Japan and fighting against Jen Sasaki first. They were just saying, let's agree to fight next. And Brian Norman still turns it down, and he didn't turn it down because of money. He turned it down completely. This is analogous to Sebastian Fundora when he turned down the Terrence Crawford fight. He turned down the Terrence Crawford fight for more money and actually tried to fight Errol Spence for less money. And then he ended up not even getting the Errol Spence fight and fighting for even less money in his next fight. And then when he's ordered to fight his mandatory Xandar Zayas, he vacates the belt, and now he's going to fight Tim Tszyu in a rematch instead. And let me tell you, do not believe anyone when they say he's going to make more money against Tim Tszyu. That's why he took the fight. It makes no sense to vacate your own belt to fight Tim Tszyu. He could have actually fought them both. He could have fought Xandar Zayas and fought Tim Tszyu, and he would have made even more money. You know, I had this one guy in my comment section when I made this video reporting that Sebastian Fundora, he vacated his belt. And this guy, he was using those same talking points, trying to say, you know, it makes sense for him to fight Tim Tszyu because he's going to make more money. So after I completely dissected everything that he said and asked him, why doesn't Sebastian just fight them both and keep his belt? That's when this guy finally admitted, because Xandar Zayas is a risk. He might lose to Xandar and not get the opportunity to fight Tim Tszyu and get that payday. And that's when I said, bingo, that is my exact point. So he didn't give up his belt because he was worried about making less money. He gave up his belt because he felt that the Xander Zayas fight would be too much of a risk. And this is the exact way Brandon Norman feels about fighting Jaron Ennis. We've already heard the stories of them sparring and Jaron hurting Brian in sparring. And clearly that is something that is still in Brian's mind. Now, when it comes to Jaron Ennis, I still would say I think it's a stupid approach for him, right after he beat Stanionis, going to the press conference, and when they ask him who he wants next, and he uses that typical response that a lot of boxers use after they get a win. Oh, I just want to go home and, spend some time with the family. I'm not thinking about boxing right now, and et cetera, et cetera. It's the wrong approach when you're on a mission. You should be putting as much pressure as possible on Brian Norman because you want to be the undisputed champion. So don't make it sound like you're nonchalant and you don't care what happens next. Go ahead and say it. You got a microphone right in front of your face. Jaron, he sat there and he didn't say what he wanted next. And of course, Brian Norman and their team, they used that as an excuse to avoid the fight. That was the first thing they said. Oh, well, he didn't mention our name. He didn't want to fight us. So we moved on, which doesn't justify them not taking the fight at all. My point is that was an opportunity for Jaron to put extra pressure on Brian Norman. Just like Eddie Hearn, he put extra pressure on Brian when he reached out to them and said, okay, well, you're saying you already have a fight, so let's go ahead and set something up for after that fight. Let's go ahead and set it up now. Let's make a deal right now. You win that fight, and then you fight against Jaron Ennis next. So most likely, we're not going to see an undisputed champion for a very long time at 147 unless new rules in the sport of boxing are implemented. With that being said, I'm going to wrap this video up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, the fever blisters, diabetic ulcers, this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called LO Key Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to lodkey.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram. Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.